Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice by Dennis Kimbro and Napoleon Hill. Chapter 1. Inner Space, the Final Frontier. Wealth is the progressive mastery of matter by mind. R. Buckminster Fuller. Poverty is a disease of the mind. S. B. Fuller. We have always been explorers. It is a part of our nature. Since we first evolved 1,000,000 years or so ago in Africa, we have wandered and explored our way across the planet. Humans have explored every continent, from pole to pole, from Mount Everest to the Dead Sea. This exploratory urge has clear survival value and is not restricted to any one nation or ethnic group. It is an endowment that the human species has in common. But at just the time when the earth has become almost entirely explored, other worlds beckon. T minus 2 minutes and counting. The voice giving that command belongs to the test conductor in the firing room of NASA's Launch Control Center. He is completing the countdown for the greatest adventure in the history of civilization, the first manned lunar flight. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. It somehow seems difficult to believe that the space age is still in its infancy. Today, satellites routinely orbit the Earth, relaying television programs from points all over the world, flashing warnings of developing storms and surveying the planet's precious supply of natural resources. Robot spacecraft journey far into the solar system, transmitting unprecedented photographs of the once mysterious faces of the Moon, Jupiter, and Mars. Man now talks almost matter-of-factly about that day when he will venture to other galaxies. T minus 1 minute and counting. The voice crackles over one of the hundreds of communication circuits monitored by launch crew members. Paracelsus, the 16th century European philosopher, challenged our character when he wrote, "God did not create the planets and stars with the intention that they should dominate man, but that they, like other creatures, should obey and serve him." Yet historians will record that the opening of this era of infinite promise and potential occurred only in the middle of the 20th century, when man first successfully launched a package of scientific instruments called Sputnik 1. The foundation for space exploration for the betterment of life on Earth had been laid. T minus 30 seconds and counting. A button is pushed. An electronic sequencing springs into action. The rest of the countdown will be done automatically. If any trouble develops past this point, computers will electronically shut down the operation. Engineers and technicians will monitor the series of final events now taking place. T minus 10 seconds and counting. Exploring outer space has been both a challenge and an obligation. Like runners exchanging a baton, scientists, engineers, and mathematicians employed the successes of past explorers to satisfy their hunger of discovering the universe and learning truths. T minus 3, 2, 1, lift off. Rivers of flame gush down the scorched deflector and funnel out on both sides of the launching pad for several hundred feet. For nearly 9 seconds, the booster remains locked on its mobile launcher. The ground for miles rumble and swell as if an earthquake were taking place. The rocket is finally freed. Slowly, ever so slowly, it begins to rise. Mankind has now embarked on a new cosmic stage of existence, of terrestrial civilization. The message is clear. Earth is seen not as our world, but as a part of a greater system of worlds that has now become accessible. It is thought that space exploration will have a profound effect upon life on Earth. We have been informed that if man is wise enough to constructively apply this knowledge, the greater will be his opportunities. But what lies beyond this latest expedition into the outer regions of the universe? What will follow once the solar system's planets have been visited, first by a robot spacecraft, then by man? What benefits will be reaped from the conquest of the endless seas of outer space 20 years from now, 30 years, 50 years? Through the magic of satellites, will man have created a unified world? Will this improve human relations? Will famine wane? Will this finally bring a halt to poverty, ignorance, illiteracy, war, or despair? The answer to these questions will not be found within the realm of some far-off sphere or galaxy unknown. Though man has traversed the earth, climbed its highest mountains, explored the depths of its oceans, harnessed electricity, uncovered the secrets of the atom, transmitted pictures and sound from continent to continent, healed with a pill, destroyed with an invisible beam, and now fire projectiles into outer space. The answers he seeks may be found much closer to home. But something has gone amiss. The anticipation of progress has been supplanted by a foreboding of technological ruin. As I look into the eyes of my fellow man and ask myself what kind of future is being planned by those who have never explored outside of their seemingly limited domains, I realize they have been offered visions of a future that includes the inability to read, to compete, to anticipate events, to invent, or to think. There are those who sink into lethargy and economic decay as fear and ignorance conspire to destroy their opportunities. Even as our investigation of the outer world has produced such startling results, we must now turn our attention inward to an investigation of ourselves. After many concerted, systematic, and historic missions to other worlds, including the reconnaissance of several planets witnessed in the night sky, we must focus our being inward at inner space and the conquering of our minds. The human mind is the last great unexplored continent on Earth. It contains riches, material and spiritual, beyond our wildest dreams. However, like a fertile field, the mind will return anything that we plant. Now you might say, if that's true, why don't individuals use their minds more? The answer is quite simple. Our mind comes to us as standard equipment at birth. It's free. Predictably, we place little or no value on that which is given to us for nothing. On the other hand, things that we pay money for, we value. But the paradox is closer to the truth. Everything that is really worthwhile in life comes to us free. Our mind, our souls, our bodies, our hopes, our dreams, our ambitions, our intelligence, our love of family, all these priceless possessions are free. Ironically, things that cost us money can be replaced. A good man or woman can experience bankruptcy, but live to build another fortune. That can be done several times. Even if a home burns down, it can be rebuilt. But those things we get for nothing can never be replaced. The mind isn't used because we take it for granted. It can do any task we assign to it, but regrettably, we use it for little jobs instead of big important ones. A 1970 Stanford University study proved that most of us are operating on less than 5% of our capacity. Though we are blessed with unlimited power, we use only a fraction of it. Unlimited wealth lies around us, but for numerous reasons we don't grasp our share. With powers endowed to us by our Creator, we are content to continue in this daily grind, eating, sleeping, wandering, plodding through an existence less eventful than that of dumb animals, while all of nature, all of life calls upon us to awaken from our slumber to better ourselves. But you are now entering a new age, an age when you will be your own master, when poverty, ignorance, and fear will no longer hold you captive, and where the very least among us can capture a place side by side with those who have attained greatness. The power to be whatever you wish, to obtain whatever you desire, to accomplish all that you can conceive, abides within the wellsprings of your being. To those of you who do not know the resources of this innermost power, these will sound like rash statements. But science has proved beyond question that in the depths of everyone's consciousness are untapped deposits of ability, wisdom, greatness, and yes, riches. Thousands of Black Americans have applied this power for their own personal enrichment. For example, when Henry Flipper first took hold of this motivating force, he was a poor and friendless youth. Born in 1856 in Thomasville, Georgia, to ex-slaves, Flipper dreamed of a military career. Though victimized and discriminated against by an insensitive society, he achieved his goal and became the first of his race to graduate from the United States Military Academy at West Point. Charles Clinton Spaulding took a small North Carolina insurance firm that was nearly bankrupted by a $40 claim and built it into the largest Black insurance company in the nation. Spaulding became acquainted with poverty at an early age. Born in North Carolina and one of 14 children, he grasped opportunity wherever and whenever he could seize it. With a vision of greater things to come, he saw education as his magic ladder to success. He rapidly absorbed all that he could, attacking his lessons with unprecedented vigor. To keep money in his pockets, he shined shoes, delivered groceries, sold newspapers, and picked tobacco into the morning hours. By hard work, he managed to graduate from Durham's segregated public schools. After graduation, he worked as a stockboy in a nearby general store. It appeared to Spaulding that he had risen as far as he could go, but he had yet to recognize and use his greatest asset, the secret power within. And then it happened. Spaulding decided to apply himself to his task at hand. He started work early, stayed late, and worked tirelessly in between. His goal was to make his employer the most profitable man in town. Spaulding went the extra mile to please each customer, and soon word spread. Under his leadership, the small enterprise prospered, and Spaulding was promoted. And then came the opportunity he had so diligently sought. John Merrick, a barber who had no formal education, and Aaron McDuffie Moore, a practicing physician, conceived the idea of a life insurance company that would serve Durham's Black community. It was a bold concept. However, both men were actively employed and found it difficult to promote their venture. What was needed, they figured, was someone who was sharp and energetic and who could devote his time exclusively to the promotion of their firm. Both had observed the hard-working clerk in his duties at the general store and were impressed. They approached the young man and offered him a position with substantially lower wages, but brimming with possibilities. With an eye towards the future, Spaulding accepted. Thanks to C.C. Spaulding's resourcefulness, missionary zeal, and power within, the North Carolina Mutual Insurance Company became one of the shining examples of Black business. Dr. Hugh Gloster, past president of Morehouse College, called on this power too, as he responded to the question, "What made you one of America's 100 best college presidents?" He replied, "You must establish your dreams and quietly move in the direction of attaining them." To this great power and self-mastery, Althea Gibson owed her success. Born in 1927 to impoverished South Carolina sharecroppers, she started out under great difficulties. Hoping for better circumstances, her family moved to New York while Althea was still young. On New York's inner-city streets, she was introduced to a game closely resembling tennis. Almost immediately, she pictured a life beyond her humble beginnings. For the next decade, her life consisted of eating, sleeping, and playing tennis. Determined to mold herself into something special and fueled by a burning desire, Althea Gibson became the first of her race to capture the prestigious Wimbledon Cup, symbolic of the game's best. And what does she owe her success to? Though initially shy and timid and without adequate contacts or proper training, she put into action her one great power. This power remains ever present for all who dare to use it. This same power had found its way into the mind of Frederick Douglass, the great abolitionist. Starting life against many great obstacles, Douglass nevertheless reached his goal. For years, life seemed to turn a cold shoulder to his hopes of freedom. He was a slave who did not know his father and saw his mother rarely, when she could walk the 12 miles from a neighboring plantation to spend precious moments with her son. Douglass had little chance of learning. The unwritten codes of the forbidden system forbade slaves to read or write, but somehow, unnoticed by his oppressors, he managed to discern the rudiments of the alphabet from discarded newspapers. A seed was planted, and from this spark kindled an intellectual explosion. The truth was revealed to him when he read the Declaration of Independence. In his mind, he was always free. Douglass fled from slavery at 21, went north and worked on a loading dock in Massachusetts. At Nantucket, he was given an opportunity to address an anti-slavery meeting and made such a favorable impression that he was sent by an abolitionist society to lecture throughout Europe. On one such tour, he met a group of Englishmen who helped him purchase his freedom. During his repeated trials, Douglass relied on this omnipresent resource to accomplish his objectives. So persuasive was this ex-slave that he attracted a strong following and was selected for many influential public posts. Before his death, his success was even felt in the commercial world, as he amassed a small fortune. For this reason, Congress labeled him the first colored man of the United States. You should be moved by the preceding stories. No man or woman, however poor or indigent, need despair. There are riches for anyone who recognizes the power of the mind. You are a mental being. Think for a moment. Thoughts and ideas are actually living things. Thoughts produce tangible results and have a powerful long-term effect on your life. Thinking is your greatest gift and is the most vital aspect of your being. The car you drive, the house in which you live, the chair upon which you rest, were first ideas in mind. Everything you see began as ideas in a mind. Your physical world is nothing more than the lingering evidence of that which has already taken place in your mind. It is merely an extension or outpicturing of your thoughts. Yours is a mental world. You are a mind with a body. That bit of wisdom comes from insurance magnate and philanthropist W. Clement Stone. And because you are a mind, you possess mystical powers, both known and unknown. This extraordinary power, mystical, as it has been rightly called, is both real and practical. It is wise to approach this concept in a spirit of awe, for it is the most profound subject of this book. Mental power is really no less than that which lies at the center of your being, and to discover this force is your birthright. It is your right and privilege to make use of it. Allow this power to work for you. But where is this resource? Where may we find it? How is it brought into action? These answers are simple. This power is to be found within your own consciousness, your ability to control your own thoughts. The power of thought may be likened to a rich garden. The soil may be converted by organized effort and the Creator's beneficence into a necessary food source, or by neglect it may be allowed to produce useless weeds. The mind is eternally at work, building up or tearing down, bringing misery, unhappiness, and poverty, or joy, pleasure, and riches. The mind is never idle. It is the greatest of all human assets, yet it is the least used and the most abused. Science has revealed many of nature's most astonishing secrets, but has overlooked the source of man's wealth, the power of his own thoughts. Lying within your mind is the source of energy stronger and more potent than any explosive, unlimited and inexhaustible. You need only to make conscious contact with this force to set it working in your affairs. When you do, you will marvel at the following changes. 1. Mental and physical well-being. 2. Success in your chosen field of endeavor. 3. A sense of personal fulfillment. This is the key. The hidden cause of all things is the primal mind that lies behind creation, and it delivers our wishes to each of us according to our thoughts. We are all guided by our own mind. You must dare to investigate all the mental laws lying outside the realm of known physical processes, laws that have undoubtedly had and will continue to have an impact on your life. But beware, the very principle that renders success is a two-edged sword. For the same principle that can lead a man or woman to a life of achievement, wealth, happiness, and the desires of his heart can also lead to a life of destitution and failure. It's all in how each uses it, for good or bad. Mental laws. What are mental laws? There are few great truths that govern all thinking, just as there are fundamental laws that rule the physical universe. For example, a young Isaac Newton, the 17th century English mathematician and philosopher, saw an apple fall from a tree and switched on the power of his imagination. Why didn't the apple fall upward, he thought. Newton spent his life unfolding the keys to the physical universe. Through his insight, mankind is able to understand the physical laws of gravity and physics. Mental laws, on the other hand, are just as broad as physical laws. These spiritual principles exist on a grand cosmic scale and rule over our mental well-being. All that is good, all that is bountiful and worthwhile, emanates from the successful application. Mental laws. What are mental laws? There are a few great truths that govern all thinking, just as there are fundamental laws that rule the physical universe. For example, a young Isaac Newton, the 17th century English mathematician and philosopher, saw an apple fall from a tree and switched on the power of his imagination. Why didn't the apple fall upward, he thought. Newton spent his life unfolding the keys to the physical universe. Through his insight, mankind is able to understand the physical laws of gravity and physics. Mental laws, on the other hand, are just as broad as physical laws. These spiritual principles exist on a grand cosmic scale and rule over our mental well-being. All that is good, all that is bountiful and worthwhile, emanates from the successful application of mental laws. They are the very infrastructure of life. The most significant quality of a mental law is that it can neither be created nor altered. As one is blind to physical laws, mental laws are also undetectable to the eye. We witness only their results. bearing proof of their inevitable existence. Not once, neither in grade school nor college, were we ever instructed in the simple techniques of learning how to apply mental laws. Laws that have the power to overcome adversity, eliminate self-defeating habits, and increase our self-confidence. There are an infinite number of mental laws, but fortunately we don't need a detailed understanding of every principle of the universe to achieve even the most grandiose of goals. However, there are several key rules with which we must be totally familiar and use unfailingly as guides in all our dealings. They are: what you think upon grows. This is the great idea that you will encounter again and again in your quest for personal fulfillment. You are a living magnet, constantly drawing to you the things, people, and circumstances that are in accord with your thoughts. In other words, you are where you are in experience, in relationships, even in financial conditions, because of what you are in thought. Consequently, what you think about grows. William James, the Harvard psychologist and someone who knew a great deal about achievement, said, "You are what you think about most of the time. Whatever you persistently allow to occupy your thoughts will magnify in your life." Whether the subject of your thoughts be good or bad, positive or negative, this law remains true. The more you think about an affliction, disease, headache, or poor health, the worse it will become. The more you think of yourself as healthy and well, the more exuberant and vibrant your body will be. The same is true concerning your finances. The more you think about lack, bad times, or scarcity, the more these circumstances will become manifest in your life. Conversely, by focusing on prosperity, abundance, and success, you will enable these riches to appear in your life. Good fortune nurtures good fortune. Learn to concentrate your thoughts on your definite major purpose. It is the starting point of all achievement. Law of cause and effect. It is astounding and shocking to see the many thousands of people whose mental machinery keeps delivering to them the very effects they say they do not want. They bewail the idea that they are poor, but that does not make them richer. They complain about their aches and pains, but sickness lingers. They say that nobody likes them, which really means they care for no one. They aren't bold, they aren't aggressive, they aren't ambitious. They are the sum total of their thoughts and actions. Cause and effect is a mental law that never fails. Day by day you write your own destiny. Thoughts are causes, and conditions in your life are effects. If you've ever wanted to know the status of your thoughts, you need only look at your conditions. One of the greatest messages ever given to mankind is written in the scriptures. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Translated, it means whatever you send out in word, thought, or deed will sooner or later return to you, and with astounding accuracy. In practical terms, if you crave friendship, be a friend. Do you want love? Give love. If you want the confidence of others, show confidence in others first, and develop your own self-confidence as well. Use or lose. This law is apparent throughout all life. Simply stated, practice makes perfect. This familiar proverb embodies one of the most important principles of human nature. To become proficient in any field, you must practice. There is simply no achievement without practice, and even more practice. An Olympic athlete will train for years just to be able to experience the thrill of a winning moment. Virtuoso musicians practice endlessly just to keep their skills at peak performance. The scientist who wins the Nobel Prize has experimented and refined his theories over a course of a career. To achieve a standard of excellence, to accomplish anything extraordinary, means aiming high. It means being disciplined and willing to devote long hours to the task at hand. Intelligent practice is the price of proficiency. Success is often a statistical event. prosperity, a spiritual idea of excellence. And, like any form of excellence or superiority, it requires time and love and care. It is the secret of attainment. Consider the following analogy. If someone were to place your leg in a cast for several months, by the time the cast was removed, your leg would shrink or atrophy as compared to your other limb. Only months of regular exercise would restore the limb to normalcy. As you grow older and your life becomes more sedentary, you cease to use certain muscles. In due time, a once firm body can become soft and weak. Only regular and systematic use will prevent its deterioration. Like physical effort, thought control is entirely a matter of intelligent practice. You must use your courage, or it will desert you. You must use your determination, or it will leave you. You must use your power of decision, or soon you will find that you have none. Law of Correspondence. Your thoughts are the prophets of the future. They can predict what to expect before it happens. Why? Because you are basically a thinker, a feeler, a dreamer. What you think, feel, and dream flows inward, then outward. The basic law is, first within, then without. Could any genius ever achieve anything? Could any inventor create anything? Could anyone who accomplishes anything worthwhile attain it without first having thought about it deeply, felt it, been totally imbued with it, immersed in it? Every great victory demonstrates this process. Everything that happens to you in your external world happens because of what is occurring in your internal world. There is a deeper significance in the statement made by psychologist William James. You do not sing because you are happy. You are happy because you sing. It signifies that the way one feels can be determined to a large extent by the way one acts. It is an indication that we as individuals are not powerless to circumstances and can improve our lives. This is called the Law of Correspondence. Your external world is nothing more than a mirror or reflection of your internal world. Some readers will experience difficulty with this idea. If it seems impractical, examine your present circumstances from an objective point of view. First, decide what changes you wish to make in your life. Now develop a habitual mental attitude that would correspond to the new circumstances which you wish to experience. It should become apparent that before any area of your life can improve, your mental attitude toward it must change first. This principle of attitude control is discussed in detail in a later chapter. The law of correspondence makes it possible for you to change undesirable conditions and enables you to become the person you truly want to be. It requires nothing more than the ability to control your thoughts, so they will correspond to the desired condition and objectives that you have set for yourself. If it is success that you seek, you must first develop a success consciousness. Law of Substitution. The only way to rid yourself of any negative thought is to substitute another one for it. You cannot dismiss a thought directly. You can do so only by substituting another thought for it. Why? Because your conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time. If I were to say to you, dismiss any thoughts of lack or limitation, your mind would immediately center on that idea. When negative thoughts creep into your subconscious, immediately begin to replace them with those that are more positive. Though you may not be able to control all the circumstances that surface in your life, you are able, however, to control your response to those circumstances. You will find a direct relationship between your level of control and your ability to effectively use the law of substitution. Law of belief. How many times have you heard it said, just believe you can do it and you can. Whatever the task, if it is undertaken in an air of positive expectancy, it can be done. This law states that anything you believe with feeling will become real in your life. Whether it be a positive belief, such as a goal or a specific desire, or a negative belief, such as a self-limiting idea. The key to this law lies within the words "with feeling." Many times, belief enables a person to accomplish what others consider impossible. The act of believing is the force or generating power that leads to realization. "Come on, fellows, we can beat him," shouts someone in command. That voicing of belief, challenging and electrifying, reverses the tide and rescues victory from the jaws of defeat. And all because some mighty believer knew that it could be done. Belief is the key to the basic mind power that turns dreams into realities, the mental into the physical. The key to your riches and transformation for the better is a deeply ingrained belief. Law of attraction. Human nature assumes that opposites attract. Perhaps in the scientific realm they do, but not so with people. Actually, people are attracted to others like themselves. Individuals are drawn together because they recognize and appreciate certain common qualities in each other. Those who criticize, find fault, and continually accentuate the negative attract similar people into their world. On the other hand, positive, life-affirming individuals attract like-minded people into their orbit. So, in effect, you create your own world through your thoughts about life in general and about yourself in particular. Those who are clear in their thinking and affirmative in their minds find self-fulfillment. They attract positive and constructive people like themselves and prosper. The mental force that controls the universe has been called many things: God, Jehovah, Muhammad. But the important thing is to know that it exists. The law of attraction has been likened to an enormous electromagnetic field, with a greater universal sphere attracting others of the same source, kind, or quality. For example, a highly magnetized piece of steel will attract and lift a piece of metal 10 times its own weight. The same law applies within the world of human nature. The laws of attraction and repulsion operate electromagnetically. Out of this truth has grown the saying: success attracts more success, while failure attracts more failure. A positive or negative-minded individual will attract a person of the same attitude or outlook. Like always attracts like. It is important that you become magnetized with ambition. Law of compensation. The law of compensation can work for you or against you depending on the matter in which you guide it. It may take many years for punishment to follow transgression or for a reward to follow virtue, but compensation always seeks its source. An ancient Sanskrit text says, "Whatever you give to others, give with love and reverence." Gifts must be given in abundance, with joy, humility, and compassion. The Bible puts it this way: as you give, so shall you receive. Examine your attitudes towards giving. Never seek a trade-off, that subtle and sly thief that lies ready to rob you of the purity and joy of your giving. Be a joyful giver. Give help, give energy, give time, give funds, share ideas, offer counsel to your friends if they desire it, but give freely with joy and have no thought of a return. If you give seeking or expecting a return, you are not giving but investing. You are not releasing but lending. Your real reward must come from the infinite source, the law of compensation. The channels by which you may reach your goals are clear and straightforward. When your thoughts are clearly and confidently centered on a desired result, all that is good and right will be drawn to you by your own thinking. This is the omnipotent idea that you will undoubtedly encounter as you strive for all that life offers. You are a living magnet, constantly attracting the things, people, and circumstances that are in accord with your thoughts. You are where you are in experience, in relationships, and even in financial conditions, because of what you are in thought. I believe you have been drawn to this book by this powerful law. It could just be that think and grow rich, a black choice, is an idea whose time has come in your life. Change your thoughts, change your life. Can you accept the dictum that you can think your way to success? In Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill writes, "You have absolute control over but one thing, and that is your thoughts. This is the most significant and inspiring of all facts known to man. It reflects man's divine nature. This divine prerogative is the sole means by which you may control your own destiny. If you fail to control your own mind, you may be sure you will control nothing else. If you must be careless with your possessions, let it be in connection with material things. Your mind is your spiritual estate. Protect and use it with the care to which divine royalty is entitled. You were given a willpower for this purpose." The power of thought, depending on how it is used, is the most dangerous and the most beneficial force available to man. Through this power, man has built great empires of civilization. Through the same power, other men have trampled down these empires like so many insignificant pieces of clay. By its application, man rises to seize his opportunity, and through neglect or misuse of this same power, man has turned his back on opportunity, becoming a puppet of his environment, a slave to his circumstances. Every creation of man, whether it be good or bad, is created first in a pattern of thought. All ideas, plans, and purposes are created in thought. As men search all their lives for worldly riches, they fail to realize that the source of all they would ever desire is already within their reach and under their control, awaiting only their recognition and use. Your only requirement for a productive, fulfilled life lies within the storehouse of your mind. If you will change your thinking, you will change your life. From ancient times, sages and seers have tried to understand the thought process and how it works. They sought to direct the mind through the spiritual disciplines of prayer, meditation, and psychic control. Sincere and dedicated spiritual researchers were impelled to communicate to others what they had learned about infinite intelligence, the way to work with one's mind and emotions to attain desired ends. Unfortunately, these efforts fell short for one good reason. They failed to apply the complete process that directs the creative subconscious. From ancient times, sages and seers have tried to understand the thought process and how it works. They sought to direct the mind through the spiritual disciplines of prayer, meditation, and psychic control. Sincere and dedicated spiritual researchers were impelled to communicate to others what they had learned about infinite intelligence, the way to work with one's mind and emotions to attain desired ends. Unfortunately, these efforts fell short for one good reason. They failed to apply the complete process that directs the creative subconscious. Throughout all of history, the great wise men, teachers, philosophers, and poets and prophets have disagreed with each other on many different things. But on this one point they are in complete and unanimous agreement. You are the sum total of your thoughts. A man's life is what his thoughts make of it, said the Roman emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius. The British writer and prime minister Benjamin Disraeli wrote, "Everything comes if a man will only wait." I brought myself by long meditation to the conviction that a human being with a settled purpose must accomplish it, and that nothing can resist the will that will stake even existence for its fulfillment. The 19th century American essayist and poet Ralph Waldo Emerson added, A man is what he thinks about all day long. Shakespeare wrote, "There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so." Harvard psychologist William James said in one of his emotionally charged lectures, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. We need only to act as if the thing in question were real, and it will become infallibly real by growing in such a connection in our life that it will become real." James further concluded that if you only care enough for a result, you will almost certainly obtain it. If you wish to be rich, you will be rich. If you wish to be learned, you will be learned. If you wish to be good, you will be good. And Ayn Rand, author and philosopher, emphasized, wealth is the product of man's capacity to think. Man's essential characteristic is his rational faculty. His mind is his basic means of survival, his only means of obtaining that which he desires. Life for each of us is exactly as we construe it to be, according to the mental law under which we labor. All notions of theology or metaphysics are, for each of us, exactly as we sense them to be, for ideas that take root in our minds determine the scope and limitation of our well-being. This is the basis for the astonishing law of prosperity and success, simply stated in 3 words: believe and succeed. Thinking along similar lines, Shakespeare put it this way: our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. The English dramatist George Bernard Shaw recorded, "People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. The people who get on in this world are those who get up and look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, they make them. To many, mental power implies such chicanery as moving objects by sheer will, but the mentally adept person works on no one but himself. His is the eye through which all things are seen, and only insofar as he is able to influence his own perception is he able to influence his world, in spite of the handicaps. Nothing can enslave an idea. An idea proceeds from an inner realm which is freedom itself. It is the offspring of the greatest power in the universe, the mind. Indeed, understanding the truth about your nature as mind action can set you free from every negative concept, every enslaving belief or opinion. Ideas can move you forward to a higher quality of life, a new being, and a new awareness." Decades ago, Mary McLeod Bethune personally discovered that thoughts do become things. As one of America's most inspiring educators, she began her life's work by filling her mind with self-directed success affirmations. Though black, uneducated, and shackled by poverty, Mary Bethune took hold of one of the strongest principles behind personal development and applied it to reach her main objective. She desperately wanted to improve the lives of black children. "There is hardly a reader," said Mary Bethune, "who will not be able to recall the early life of at least one man or woman whose childhood was spent in poverty, and who, in their youth, expressed a firm desire to secure a higher education." Mary Bethune is one of 17 children born to slave parents in a tiny cabin on a cotton farm near Maysville, South Carolina. When she was 11 years old, the Board of Missions of the Presbyterian Church opened a school near her hometown. Ecstatically, she was one of the first children to attend, walking nearly 10 miles each day, lured by the promise of a quality education. Reflecting on her daughter's childhood, Mary's mother said, "We had to make some of the children go to school, but not Mary. She fell in love with that little schoolhouse." Hard work and enthusiasm served her well. The following year, at the request of a wealthy Colorado dressmaker, Mary studied at the Scotia Seminary. Although initially shy and uncomfortable with her appearance, Mary met every slight and criticism with unfailing faith, and soon won the hearts of her teachers and peers. As her formal instruction concluded, she received numerous scholarships that enabled her to continue her studies in Chicago. At the end of a 2-year term at the Moody Bible Institute, Mary hoped to see the fulfillment of a long-cherished dream to teach as a missionary in Africa. But bitter disappointment awaited her. She was told by the Presbyterian Board of Missions that because of her race, she need not apply, and was commissioned instead to Sumter, South Carolina, and later to Daytona, Florida. The setback would have ruined many a man, but not Mary. At that very instant, fate was measuring her to play a larger role. Mary arrived in Daytona with less than $2. She looked about her at the shambles of the black community. She saw the great need for someone to inspire her people. A desire had caught hold of her. She believed there is something infinitely better than making a living. It is making a noble life. Undeterred by her limited means, she knew that ideas were power. She immediately made plans to build a school, complete with books, desks, and supplies. But without money, it would not be easy. Ever resourceful, Mary met the task head on. In order to raise the necessary funds to complete her mission, she worked unceasingly, day and night, and saved every dime. She lived on pennies a day while she baked pies and cakes and sold them on the streets of Daytona. If there was ever a time when a Negro needed a boost, it is now, she told friends. In short order, she overcame all obstacles. At last, her dream was fulfilled. The school she had hoped to establish for poor black children was complete. In the fall of 1904, in a tiny one-room schoolhouse, a beaming Mary Bethune, its only teacher, opened its doors and rang the school bell for the first time. 5 little children stepped inside, and the Daytona Educational and Industrial Training School, as it was named, was founded. Later, this school became Bethune-Cookman College, and Mary Bethune transformed a world of ignorance and poverty into one of success, self-respect, and achievement for thousands of black men and women. Mary Bethune taught that the highest accomplishment are noble manhood and womanhood, and that achievement of true integrity and well-rounded character is in itself success. Before her death in 1955, she was an advisor to several U.S. presidents and a counselor to all who would listen. Mary Bethune's vision was part of the ongoing universal movement of thought power which anyone can grasp and use. It is only a matter of having a desire coupled with the right mental attitude and applying these powers to good use in your life. By focusing on her goal and assuming full responsibility for her thoughts, Mary Bethune overcame setbacks and defeat and brought about an astonishing triumph in her affairs. Her rise to prominence is proof that if one has mental power, one can succeed without any other qualities. Conscious power, wrote James Lowell, a 19th century American poet, exists within the mind of everyone. Sometimes its existence is unrealized, but it is there. It is there to be developed and brought forth like the culturing of a beautiful flower. To allow it to remain dormant is to place oneself in obscurity, to trample on one's ambition, to smother one's faculties. To develop it is to individualize all that is best within you and offer it to the world. Thoughts and ideas are living things. They produce results that can have powerful long-term effects on your life and well-being. If you are not all that you would be, begin a thorough mental inventory to find whether your thoughts and feelings are aligned with your desires. Think and act as if you were prosperous, for this will be the first step toward a prosperity consciousness, and prosperity will come to you. Think and act as if you were healthy, for this will be the first step towards a health consciousness, and health will come to you. Think and act as if you are poor, and poverty will rule your day. It is up to each of us individually to make the decision as to what our thoughts will bring. Wealth is nothing but thought. The roots of riches all grow from the seeds of thought, seeds that only you can plant. In a justly ordered universe, individual responsibility is absolute. A man's weaknesses and strengths are his own, not another's. They are brought about by himself, not by another, and they can be altered only by himself, never by another. A man's condition is his own. His suffering, as his happiness, evolves from within. As he thinks, so is he. As he continues to think, so he remains. As a reader of this book, I believe you have the human urge for the better things in life, a common desire of all people. You desire economic security. You may desire an outlet for your talents in order that you might enjoy creating your own riches. Some, however, seek the easy way to wealth, hoping to find it without rendering anything in return. Unfortunately, that too is a common desire. But it is a desire I shall hope to modify for your benefit. From experience, I've learned there is no such thing as something for nothing. Nature frowns on bargains. You must give an equivalent value for the object of your desire. There is only one sure way to riches, and hopefully you will have found that path before you complete this text. Let it be known at the outset that when I speak of riches, I have in mind all riches, not merely those represented by bank balances and material possessions. I have in mind the riches of liberty and freedom, which as Americans you enjoy more than any other people outside these distant shores. When I speak of riches, I refer to the abundant life which is available to all people of these United States, regardless of race and gender, and obtainable with a minimum amount of effort. I sincerely hope that you will aim for your fair share, not only of the things that money can buy, but of the things money cannot buy. By riches I mean 1. Peace of mind. Peace of mind is freedom from all negative emotions. Peace of mind is the absence of fear, anger, resentment, hatred, jealousy, and guilt. Peace of mind helps you live your life on your own terms and in the values of your choosing, so that every day your life grows richer and fuller. Number 2, the right mental attitude. All riches of whatever nature begin as a state of mind. Remember that the state of mind is the one and only asset over which you have complete and unchallenged control. Number 3, health and energy. You cannot separate the body and the mind, for they are one. Anything that affects the health and vigor of the mind will affect the body. In turn, anything that affects the health of the body will affect the mind. Health and energy are the freedom from pain and disease. A sound mind plus a sound body. Health and energy begin with a health consciousness. Your health is a priceless commodity. 4. Loving relationships. Love is the great force that created the universe. Love is forever working in your life because it is the primal cause, the essence and nature of life. It is the creative force that propels all achievement, success, and ideas. Love is the foundation of the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Love and affection constitute the finest remedies for the soul. You can always judge the quality of your life by the number of loving relationships you have entered into. Number 5, financial freedom. Financial freedom is not attained by the possession of money alone. It is attained by the service one renders. Useful service may be converted into all forms of human needs, with or without the use of money. Those who are financially free have learned a central rule of riches. You may have all the money you desire. The only requirement is that you must earn it. Fully 80% of those with whom you come into contact think of money all the time without realizing the above maxim. The average man will tell you that he wants to make $1 million or that he wants to make a lot of money. He doesn't realize that the only people who make money are those who work in a mint. The successful must earn their wages or profits. The wisdom surrounding money is strange. If you have enough of it, you hardly think about it. But if you lack it, you'll think of nothing else. Each of us must know that in order to enjoy peace of mind, loving relationships, and health and energy, we must be able to overcome any money problems. 6. Worthy goals and ideals. The greatest of all forms of happiness comes as the result of hope of achievement of some yet unattained desire. The German psychiatrist Viktor Frankl called this state of mind a feeling of meaning and purpose. It is a sense that your life has direction. Poor is the person who cannot look into the future with the hope that he will become the person he was meant to be, or with the belief that he will reach his objective. Number 7, sense of personal fulfillment. Only the man or woman who has found his true self can know himself, find his own best talent, and achieve his own high success. Our automated society has come to expect path-breaking technological advances as routine and mundane. For instance, the transformation of the computer into a commodity appliance has liberated mankind from the tedious tasks of the past. Through this simplified machine, man has lengthened his life and improved its quality. The 20th century has seen the world grow smaller, but more efficient through an intricate web of microchips, thread-like wires, and lasers housed in a small metal box. How was this brought about? Easy. It existed in mind first. Yes, it's true. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. The mind is the first cause. When you come to grips with the enormous power at your disposal and earnestly put it to work, not only will you have dominion over this earth, as is your divine charge, but you will reach new heights and possibilities. This power, your inner spark, comes as standard equipment, but it must be fanned into a flame of white heat intensity before the mental processes will be transformed into physical manifestation. Success is not a product of fate, chance, or luck. It is the result of a burning desire that knows no defeat. Prosperity is your privilege. Perhaps one of the greatest shocks I've ever received was the discovery that man's natural desire for prosperity was viewed as abnormal. Throughout my travels, I've witnessed thousands of Black Americans who secretly wondered whether poverty is a spiritual virtue or a common vice. I stood by and watched as they struggled with internal conflicts over wealth, resulting from years of self-inflicted mental wounds. If you've held this idea in the past, now would be a good time to rid yourself of this deadly thinking. Let me announce it to all. It is your right to be prosperous. Prosperity is the result of correct thoughts, an active way of thinking and living in accordance with spiritual principles. It borders on current hopes, faith, and desire. Prosperity is normal and is your natural heritage. Each of us is free to tap the infinite intelligence that makes prosperity possible. Rejoice in the idea of prosperity. Poverty, on the other hand, is undesirable and unnecessary. Misery, debt, and lack are the direct results of a poverty consciousness and a victim psychology that springs from thoughts of limitation and fear. It is a form of living hell caused by man's blindness to the unlimited opportunities and abundance placed before him. In a country such as ours, where riches abound in every conceivable form, you should erase any thoughts that see virtue in either lack or want, thinking his way to success. When multimillionaire A.G. Gaston first decided to seek his fortune, he worked long and hard in Alabama's steel mills, earning less than 30 cents an hour. Having devised a plan to increase his lot, Gaston and his father-in-law launched a string of funeral parlors, which later grew into the Booker T. Washington Insurance Company. Their modest enterprise eventually became the hub of a network of businesses that would rocket Gaston's holdings to an estimated $40 million. His inspiring story and motivating philosophy are found in his autobiography, Green Power, The Success Ways of Arthur G. Gaston. Gaston's riches were first embedded within the depths of his subconscious, what Napoleon Hill termed a success consciousness. Gaston elaborated, "I gave serious consideration to what I was going to do with my life. I wanted to be rich. So I thought, how does a poor black man acquire wealth? Simple, by providing a useful service." However, there was a time when Gaston had no service to provide and worked for less than $2 a day. His childhood was punctuated with poverty. His father died when he was young, and his mother worked as a domestic to support her son. Because of their limited means, Gaston lived with his grandmother, who kept him fed and clothed. But it was these event-filled days at his grandmother's home that gave Gaston his greatest satisfaction, as well as his first business opportunity. A swing on his grandmother's porch became a favorite pastime among the neighborhood's children. For a modest fee of pennies, pins, and candy, Gaston's playmates could ride to their heart's content. This was his first lesson in economics. After completing the 8th grade and serving a stint in the Army, Gaston settled in Westfield, a sleepy-eyed southern town, where he worked for the county's principal employer, the Alabama Coal, Iron, and Steel Company. He remembers those long, hard days. It was back-breaking labor for poverty wages. There had to be a better way to earn a living. Nonetheless, he managed to live on a small portion of his earnings and save whatever he could. Frugality is one of the essentials of success, he quipped. It is the unwritten law of wealth. This statement was a symbol of Gaston's idea. To supplement his tiny income, he sold peanuts and loaned a portion of his earnings to less thrifty co-workers. Eventually, the interest on these monies compounded and was used to start other businesses, motels, restaurants, nursing homes, and any enterprise that would render a service to a needy black population. To provide the necessary manpower for his ventures, Gaston created the Booker T. Washington Business College, which today is fully accredited and supplies highly trained graduates for various positions in business and government throughout the nation. A.G. Gaston employed the secret to overcoming poverty and moving mountains. By directing and channeling his thoughts, Gaston realized his greatest gift, thinking. There is a way to provide against the onslaught of poverty, he said. It is the recognition of the power of the mind. Gaston substituted higher thoughts of abundance for his earlier restrictive thinking, which resulted in lack. Subsequently, he altered the direction of his life. A.G. Gaston knew that the most powerful forces in the universe are unseen, the silent forces of thought. You choose your thoughts. He grew up under the worst conditions in a poor section of Detroit. He had little guidance except what he received from delinquent peers who, like himself, avoided school and used crime to support drug habits. He was first arrested at age 12, caught robbing a local grocery store. At 15, he was again apprehended, attempting another break-in. Later, as an adult, he was tried and convicted for his part in the armed robbery of a neighborhood bar. While in jail, he was not a model prisoner. The moment he arrived at the state prison of southern Michigan, he vowed to himself that the facility was not strong enough to hold him and immediately made plans to escape. In fact, he was so hard bitten, he was placed in solitary confinement 3 times during his stay. It was after his 3rd stint in solitary that he received the advice that would later change his life. An inmate who had seen him play baseball in the prison yard admired his enormous gift. "You have talent," he told him, "a chance to make something of yourself. Don't blow it." The young man had heard it all before, but this time it seemed different. Some silent power within caused him to take a good look at his life. He stepped back and took action. He harnessed his aggressive behavior and adapted himself to prison rules. He became the most agreeable inmate at southern Michigan. With this new resolution, his entire state of affairs began to reverse. Ron LeFleur had finally mastered his greatest enemy, himself. Though incarcerated, he knew he was not powerless and vowed to change his thoughts. The change that Ron LeFleur experienced came by reversing his attitude. He felt that his old self had died and a new man had moved in and taken charge. He began reading self-help and inspirational books. He looked for ways to make his prison stay as productive as possible, and this right mental attitude spilled over into other areas of his life. After a goodwill tour of the prison and talent search by then Detroit Tiger manager Billy Martin, LeFleur was offered a tryout. Impressed with his skill and ability, Martin signed the speedy inmate to a contract. Less than a year later, LeFleur was a major leaguer, playing center field for the Detroit Tigers. Now reflect for a moment. Here was a man at the bottom of the barrel, a convicted felon, serving a lengthy prison sentence. But despite his wretched circumstances, he nevertheless managed to use his greatest gift, and more important, he decided to exercise it positively. Ron LeFleur could have easily said, "I have no hope, no chance, no choice. I'm a convict. What can I possibly do?" But he didn't. What he did say was, "I do have power over my thoughts, and now I choose to change my thinking." From that moment, Ron LeFleur changed his life forever. He took a good look at the Ron LeFleur of the past and resolved to avoid the same appearance in the future. What is this power that Ron LeFleur possessed? What miracle turned the tide in his favor? It is the power of choice. As inhabitants of this earth, we all have the capacity to think, to express our ideas, and to choose our own thoughts. Here, according to the divine plan, we are given dominion. The creative process in life gives us the authority to direct the events that take place in our outer experiences. If we do not like the world that we have created for ourselves, or if we do not like our circumstances, we have been given the privilege of forging a new set of opportunities by choosing our thoughts. The experiences of A.G. Gaston and Ron LeFleur demonstrate that no one has to be a pawn of fate, to be tossed by the winds of chance. By taking responsibility for the quality of his thoughts, anyone can chart a course of planned achievement. These stories prove once again that a man can change his world and alter his life by changing the quality of his thinking. They prove that by positively exercising the power of choice, men and women can lift themselves to significant accomplishments. There is no mystery about Gaston's and LeFleur's rise to good fortune. Their success was captured by applying many of the principles outlined in this book. Stop and think. You too have the right to use those same principles. Now, what are you going to do with your right? Choice is not dead. The world is full of people who believe that choice is dead and individual freedom is an idea of the past. These individuals would rather opt for the intangibles, luck, fate, or roll of the dice, as the determinators of success. It would be wise to abandon such thinking. Historically, black Americans have caucused at great length over the subject of power, both its abuse and lack. Over the last 50 years, power within black America has come to mean control over one's destiny. All power to the people, to recall a past expression, called for the unification of black Americans to recognize a common heritage and move toward a common destiny. Black power is an intriguing slogan. It conjures up past struggles between a race and a nation groping to find common chords. It suggested dominance and retaliation by a black nation for centuries of oppression. It also implies emancipation and full participation in a culturally diverse society. However, both banners fail to uncover the one true power that every black American has, the power of choice. At some point in life, we Americans become keenly aware of the constant choices that present themselves, choices that will determine our destiny. It is as though at birth we are given two sealed envelopes, each containing explicit orders by which our lives would be governed. One envelope would contain a list of blessings we could enjoy if we recognize the power of our mind, take possession of it, and carefully direct it to the goals of our choosing. The other envelope would contain an equally representative list of penalties that we would pay if we failed to recognize this power and use it constructively. Your thoughts are the only thing you control. Either you control them or you relinquish your greatest gift to others. Without control, the mind loses its effectiveness. With control and direction, it gains power. You will not have power until you organize your mind and keep it clear of disturbing influences. Use your mind to shape your destiny to fulfill whatever purposes in life you choose, and to avail yourself of all the riches that come in that sealed envelope marked blessings. Years ago, Booker T. Washington penned the following words. It would serve you well to commit his quote to memory. The circumstances that surround a man's life are not important. How that man responds to those circumstances is important. His response is the ultimate determining factor between success and failure. Why so many continue to fail. The reason why poverty still exists, still clutches the throats of so many in this land of abundance, is because so many have yet to comprehend and apply the mental laws. Many, unfortunately, have not fully understood the premise, first the dream, then reality. By failing to direct their minds on that which they desire, and by allowing their thoughts to aimlessly drift to that which they do not desire, they become like Job. For the thing I greatly feared has come upon me. Nor have the masses fully understood the law of cause and effect, or sowing and reaping. For their pain and anguish, their results are predictable. They must permanently lay to rest the damaging belief that it is possible to receive something for nothing. This simply cannot be done, and runs contrary to the law of life. At the counter of success, there are no bargains. A price must always be paid in advance and in full. For the individual who is willing to pay the price, his rewards will be greatly multiplied. By overlooking the basic laws of riches, welfare continues to entrap successive generations of black Americans within the jaws of poverty. The focus is now, more than ever, on how one thinks and uses his unlimited potential to create the kind of existence he or she desires. Thoughts create your inner world, and thought can eradicate your self-defeating creations. Perhaps now would be a good time to ask the question, what are your thoughts? What are you currently thinking? Are you going to grasp the infinite possibilities that lie before you? While some might say that it is too simplistic to suggest that thought controls everything, remember, your thoughts are the steering mechanism in your life. Constantly check your habits. Have you allowed your thinking to become clogged with the paralyzing visions of poverty, racism, anxiety, or fear? If so, change your mental pictures. Set aside time each day for thinking, meditating, and concentrating your mind on your desires. You'll find that ideas are powerful and expand when reflected upon. The more you think, the more you will be able to see clearly. Subsequently, you will grow and develop as a person. Man never reaches heights above his level of thought. By engaging in thought power control, not only will you transform your own life, you will begin to have an impact on those lives around you.